Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Carol and Barry K Performing Arts Auditorium. The CDC has recently changed their guidance to recommend that face coverings be worn by all, regardless of vaccination status. In interest of providing a safe environment for everyone, we strongly recommend that you wear a face covering for the duration of today's ceremony. If you are in need of a face covering, please ask the nearest usher for assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Carol and Barry K Performing Arts Auditorium. The CDC has recently changed their guidance to recommend that face coverings be worn by all, regardless of vaccination status. In interest of providing a safe environment for everyone, we strongly recommend that you wear a face covering for the duration of today's ceremony. If you are in need of a face covering, please ask the nearest usher for assistance.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the White Coat Ceremony for the class of 2024 of the Florida Atlantic University Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine. As Senior Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Admissions, it is my great privilege and honor to serve as the Master of Ceremonies for this very special occasion. As you know, last year we were unable to host an in-person ceremony due to the pandemic, and instead we celebrated this event virtually. We are thrilled that we are able to stand here today with you in person to formally cloak the class of 2024. This year has brought us many challenges, both personally and professionally. But together, we have found ways to persevere and succeed as a community. Before we begin the ceremony, I would like to recognize the many people who have been instrumental to the success of our college, including our core and affiliate faculty members, our dedicated staff members, our partner hospitals and their leadership teams, our FAU leadership, including President Kelly, Provost Danilowitz, members of the executive leadership team, the FAU Board of Trustees, FAU College of Deans, and our advisory board chair, Dr. Michael Dennis, and all members of our College of Medicine Advisory Board. Members of our state and local government, and of course, Dick and Barbara Schmidt. Please join me in a warm round of applause for these individuals and the many others who have contributed to the continued success of our College of Medicine. The White Coat Ceremony is a symbolic event that was established in 1993 after a group of distinguished physicians, medical educators, and community leaders formed the Arnold P. Gold Foundation. The foundation concluded that the beginning of a student's journey into medicine is the best time to influence standards of professionalism, humanistic values, and behavior. More than 140 medical schools in the United States hold White Coat ceremonies, and we are honored to be celebrating our 10th White Coat ceremony with you today. At this time, I would like to ask the audience to please stand as we welcome the talented class of 2024 who have worked so very hard to reach this milestone today. Welcome, class of 2024. At this time, it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Sarah K. Wood, Interim Dean and Senior Associate Dean for Medical Education at the FAU Schmidt College of Medicine. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Wood to the podium.
Good afternoon. Please join me one more time in recognizing our very remarkable class of 2024, along with their families and loved ones. A warm, warm welcome to all of you as our faculty and staff, our university, hospital, and community leaders, our College of Medicine donors and supporters, and of course, all of you celebrating with us virtually from home, join together to celebrate this very special class. This is round 2. Here we go. Hopefully this time, we won't have to go fully virtual again. Oh yeah, please sit down, sorry. Everyone sit down. I'm gonna talk for a while. Please make yourself comfortable. So, you will all certainly be a very special, unique, and memorable class, because for some of you, this may even be your first week on campus, despite having been an FAU medical student for over a year. That is just so hard to believe. When I reflect back on last summer, as the COVID pandemic was in full force, and we held this event virtually with all of you, I am absolutely amazed by the challenges we have overcome and all that you have already accomplished. I remember meeting many of you and your families during our drive-by welcome last year. And I don't know about you, but that seems like a long time ago. And so I'll say it again today. You couldn't be entering the medical profession at a more critically important time. We need your passion to help care for patients and communities. We need your courage and creativity to help transform healthcare systems to care for all equally. And we need your intelligence and innovation to advance scientific discovery. I know this has been a hard year for all of us, but for you all in particular. Having to start medical school in the midst of a pandemic with less than ideal educational and interpersonal experiences has not been easy. However, what has emerged during this difficult year has been your flexibility, your perseverance, and your resilience. I could not be prouder of how you and our entire faculty, staff, and community have risen up and found silver linings and innovative paths forward. It has been inspirational to witness the teamwork that has emerged. These unprecedented circumstances have put all of our skills and ingenuity to the test, and I think given the scale and scope of the challenges of this past year, we can all congratulate ourselves on making it through in an exceptional way. Big round of applause that we've made it to today. Yes. I have my fingers crossed that we will be able to have a much more normal year together this year and continue to foster the warm, close-knit, family-feeling community that is the hallmark of our College of Medicine. I also feel confident that you will begin your second year, and already have begun, with passion and enthusiasm and many more skills than you had at this time last year. I also hope now, with a little bit of experience as medical students under your belt, you will feel even more strongly the meaning and importance of today's ceremony. White coat ceremonies are considered the induction into the noble profession of medicine, and the white coat is the symbol of integrity, caring, and the trust you must earn from each of your patients. Many believe that when you put on your white coat, it is the powerful symbol of transformation and purity of intention and mission as a physician. Each time you put on your white coat, it should serve as a reminder of your humanism, professionalism, and dedication to caring for your patients. Moments such as today's ceremony allow us to highlight and reaffirm for all of us in the College of Medicine community the critical importance of the work we do to train our nation's next generation of clinicians and scientists. I know I speak for many of our faculty and staff when I say that it is a true honor and delight to have one of our exceptional graduates give the keynote speech today. You have no idea the pride we take in each and every one of you. We train you, we send you out into the world to care for others, to lead, and to make a difference. And today, alongside all of you, we recommit ourselves to the highest standards of excellence and equity in healthcare, as well as affirm the importance of compassion, connection, collaboration, and scientifically excellent care. These attributes, as well as our College of Medicine values, are essential for you to model as you move forward on your journey to becoming a physician. Today, as you put on your white coat and we celebrate your commitment to the practice of medicine, I want to recognize the important role of the Gold Foundation in developing the white coat ceremony and promoting humanism in medicine. I would also like to take a moment and recognize the generosity and support of White Coats for Care chairs Bonnie and John Kay and the host committee for their steadfast dedication to our students and our school. At the height of the pandemic last summer, when we had to conduct all of our fundraising and events virtually, the White Coats for Care committee stepped up to the challenge and raised over $100,000 in support of scholarships for our school. All of our donors have my deepest appreciation for all they do for this school. We unfortunately had to reschedule this year's donor reception out of an abundance of caution, but I know we will gather together soon to celebrate and recognize all our amazing donors and supporters. I would also be remiss if I didn't take a moment to recognize our beloved Stuart Markowitz. Dr. Markowitz has been at the college since the very beginning, and he has been instrumental in its development and success. He has led this ceremony for our students for many, many years and just recently stepped down as Senior Associate Dean for Student Affairs. As you can see from this slide, we are a dynamic duo. He will be sorely missed, but we are so pleased that he will continue to teach and train our medical students at the college and be our biggest supporter. Please join me in expressing our gratitude for his years of exceptional service with a big round of applause for Dr. Markowitz. So in closing, I just want to reiterate just how grateful I am to all of you for being here today to celebrate this important moment for the remarkable class of 2024. Let me once again share my sincerest congratulations to each and every one of you as you continue to work towards your dream of becoming a physician. And please remember that you are the best and the brightest, and we believe you are the future of healthcare for all of us. So as you continue to strive to become humanistic and exceptional doctors, my message to you is one that Hippocrates shared. Remember that wherever the art of medicine is loved, there is also a love of humanity. Congratulations again, class of 2024. So it was now the moment when I was going to take great pleasure in introducing Dr. Michael Dennis, whose leadership as the founding chair of the Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine's Advisory Board has played an enormous role in the development of our medical school. So anyway, unfortunately, despite heroic efforts, Dr. Dennis is not going to be able to join us today because his travel plans were thwarted by COVID-19 pandemic. He sends his truly heartfelt regrets. He asked me to share just a few words on his behalf, and we will send you his beautiful and inspirational speech in its entirety to you by email after this ceremony. First and foremost, Dr. Dennis extends a huge warm welcome to the class of 2024. Dr. Dennis believes that with the challenges facing healthcare today, there is a great need for the next generation of physicians to be community-minded and socially conscious, in addition to being experts in the practice of medicine. He believes our focus must always remain on the patient, a more satisfying exchange of information, and quality of care over quantity of care. This region's growing population, aging baby boomers, and the number of retiring physicians will increase pressure on the system. We will need dedicated physicians like you committed to improving access to care in our communities. He is hopeful that you will choose residencies within our superb consortium of medical centers, and if you do go outside of our geographic region, that one day you will return to care for our communities. He also prays that you will also ultimately be allowed to maintain the treasured, uninterrupted doctor-patient relationships, which are critical for success and happiness. I want to share my sincerest appreciation of Dr. Dennis for his inspirational leadership on our advisory board, whose dedicated mission is to provide funding for educational opportunities and especially focused on scholarships. his service on the search committee for our new dean, and also his instrumental role as president of the Palm Beach County Medical Society Services Board for the past 8 years is just tremendous. It is thanks to him that we have such a close relationship between our school and the Medical Society. He hopes the stethoscope that they provided you last year continues to represent the important connection with the community that supports you. He also has personally contributed your membership dues to the Medical Society so that each of you has a 4-year membership, and also just recently established a special fund to support student activities this year. We can't thank Dr. Dennis enough for his generosity, and we miss you, Dr. Dennis, and we'll see you soon. Big round of applause for Dr. Dennis. And now, it is my profound privilege to introduce our incredible and amazing university president, President John Kelly. His successful influence on FAU has been nothing short of miraculous, indeed transformational, and thank you so much for the support of our med school. Welcome, President Kelly.
Thank you, Dr. Wood. It is so great to be back in front of people. And you all are actually complying. It looks like all across the room. I can't wait for next week when this is filled all the way to the rafters 4 times in one day, and me begging people to wear masks. So I don't see anybody out there that's violating the mask policy. I also want to thank Dr. Dennis. He is year after year since I've been here. He's always championing the med school, whether he was a trustee or a donor or just a person interested in people. He was telling everybody he could about the med school, and I'm sure he is watching and thinking of all of you. It's a real treasure for me to be here today because we're celebrating the passage for you, even if it's a year late, and I apologize for this terrible situation that we've all had to deal with that's delayed so many things that we wanted in life. You've endured much over the last year and a half, likely completing your undergraduate studies remotely, and then medical school remotely, and then one of the most difficult times in the U.S. history, trying to figure our way out of the other side of this. Never before have great doctors been needed more. I am confident that the education that you're going to receive here at FAU under the tutelage of this fine faculty will prepare you for the challenges of the future, just like this unknown challenge we've just had to meet here recently. The fact that the physician craft is as much an art as it is science is beautifully signified by the humanism in medicine lapel pins that each of you received with your white coats. We want to thank the Arnold P. Gold Foundation for providing those pins for you and inspiring universities all throughout this country to welcome medical students with ceremonies just like this, which emphasize the importance of caring as well as curing in the practice of medicine. You are truly an extraordinary group of students, selected from more than 3,000 applications for the 67 positions in the class. It's a very, very challenging way to get to grad school and to med school, and you have succeeded. And while you come from varying backgrounds, you have one overarching theme in common. You share a tremendous passion to be a physician. You will spend your lives helping others. The fact that you made it through this rigorous first year of med school while trying to remain mentally, physically, and emotionally in the midst of a pandemic speaks to your dedication and already to your resilience. These traits will serve you well, not just during the rest of your time here at FAU, but throughout your life and your career. I look forward to the day 3 years from now when I'll have the privilege of conferring your MD degrees and calling you doctor for the first time. Congratulations, Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine, class of 2024. We are proud to call you members of the OWL family.
Thank you, President Kelly. It is now my pleasure to introduce my colleague, mentor, and friend, Dr. Stuart Markowitz, who served as Senior Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Admissions when our keynote speaker was admitted to and graduated from our College of Medicine. Dr. Markowitz, please join me at the podium to introduce our very special keynote speaker.
Okay, class of 2024, go back a year when you were a new freshman and pretend you were here, and imagine walking in with your dean, your first meeting with your dean, and the dean says, well, what do you think? What's your future? And you say, well, I'm going into dermatology, which was the most competitive specialty in 2013, and I'm going to do it at Harvard, at the Brigham Hospital and Mass General. That's what we call chutzpah. You're going to get to meet a young lady in a few minutes who had that kind of chutzpah and had that kind of interaction with me and accomplished it. So I am unbelievably honored to introduce Dr. Janelle Nassim. She is a Harvard-trained dermatologist specializing in medical and surgical dermatology, and she is a graduate of our Schmidt College of Medicine. She graduated in 2017. She received her undergraduate degree, which President Kelly likes, also from Florida Atlantic University. And she was a terrific NCAA Division I swimmer, serving as team captain in her senior year. She then continued her education at the College of Medicine, where she served as class vice president for 4 years. She received the FAU Graduate and Professional Student Association Student Leader of the Year Award, the Florida Board of Medicine Chairman's Recognition Award, and was inducted into the Gold Humanism and the Alpha Omega Alpha AOA Honor Societies. She completed her internship, as I mentioned, in Boston at the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and a residency in the Harvard Combined Dermatology Residency Program, training at the Massachusetts General Hospital, the Brigham and Women's Hospital, Beth Israel Deaconess, and Boston Children's Hospital. While she was in her residency, she didn't just rest. She served on the admissions committee, she led the program's wellness team, and she became passionate about helping people in the city of Boston in terms of working with minorities, minority high school students interested in STEM careers, as well as working with the Women's Dermatologic Society to provide Boston women experiencing homelessness with educational programs about skin health and self-care. Dr. Nassim also has a special interest in advocating and caring for patients with disabilities and has published and presented work on this topic internationally, including at the World Congress of Dermatology in Milan. She graduated from residency not long ago, June 2021, and will be starting her attending position at Indiana University in Indianapolis as an assistant professor of dermatology in fall 2021. She and her husband, Eric, an interventional radiologist and South Florida native, are excited to start a new chapter in the Midwest, where Dr. Nassim was born and raised. I have worked with medical students since it's going on close to 40 years. I've been working with medical students. Even though she barely got into our College of Medicine, she is the best medical student I have ever worked with. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Janelle Nassim.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Markowitz, for that extremely kind introduction. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be here at your white coat ceremony and to have the opportunity to meet all of you. It's great to be back and to visit the medical school and see the faculty and staff, which include some of my most influential mentors. As was mentioned, I'm an alumnus of both the undergraduate university and the College of Medicine, and I have an immense sense of pride in FAU. When I was asked to give this speech, I was very honored and, of course, willingly accepted the invitation. But when I started to think about what I would say, I wondered, what would I, someone at the very beginning of my medical career, someone who was in your seat just 8 years ago, what could I possibly teach or impart upon you all? I spent a lot of time thinking about this and reflecting on the years of my medical school and residency training, and I realized that the best advice I could possibly give you is simply all of the best advice that I have been given by the people who have made the biggest impact in my own life. I've been fortunate to have mentors who have shared their wisdom and breadths of life and work experience, both in and outside of medicine, with me. And I know with certainty that I would not be where I am today without my mentors. And so I thought I would share some of the most valuable pearls and words of wisdom that have been instilled in me. Pearl number 1 is to bounce back from failure. This is particularly relevant to the current time during the Olympic Games in Tokyo, which I'm sure many of you are enjoying watching like I am. You see these athletes who have competed in 4 or 5 Olympic Games, and it makes you wonder, how do they continue to perform at this level for so long? Something they all have in common is the ability to move on from failure and launch back into training without prior letdowns holding them back. This is something that I learned many times the hard way in my swimming career, but was reiterated to me in the context of medicine by one of my dearest mentors, Dr. Ellen Rowe, a nail expert who inspired my own interest in nails. Dr. Rowe, who also happens to be a former college athlete, is one of the toughest critics, but also the most encouraging when I failed and needed her to rescue me. When I was hard on myself after making a mistake in surgery, she would always say to me, "But you learned from it, and you won't do it again next time." Recuperating from failure directly depends on how well we are able to manage the negative emotions that accompany failure, and not allowing it to hinder the overall momentum that we have going towards our ultimate goals. We are guaranteed in this profession to experience test after test, literally and figuratively, to see if we are strong and resilient enough to continue moving towards our goals. Pearl number 2 is from a professor of organic chemistry and university dean, who I also happen to call Dad, and that is, don't take credit that is not yours, and always give credit where credit is due. I will tell you a little story. At a hospital just down I-95 from here, as a third-year medical student on my OB rotation, I was asked a difficult question on rounds that happened to be something that my classmate, who was my partner in the rotation, had just taught me earlier that day. In that moment, I had to decide whether I would blurt out the answer confidently, knowing that my classmate had just gotten another question wrong in front of the entire rounds team, or give credit where credit was due. I could see a very subtle, yet obvious to me, look of disappointment on his face. I said the answer, and I said the only reason I knew it is because my classmate had just taught me that before rounds. Probably came off much more cumbersome and not as smooth, but the feeling of doing what was right by my teammate was far more satisfying. There will be times in your training and in your career where it will be more convenient and more advantageous to take credit for something. And all of us are, to some degree, competitive by nature. Don't let competition compromise your character. Pearl number 3 is something that one of my dermatology mentors, Dr. Jill Weibel, taught me. Dr. Weibel, who practices in Miami and is a world-renowned expert in the laser treatment of scars, always says that there's a common problem she's noticed in our generation. Yes, I'm lumping myself in with you guys because I need to feel young. She says that millennial doctors have trouble problem solving. So her answer for that is her pearl that I'm sharing with you now. There is a solution for everything. And there really is. When presenting a problem, come with a solution. No one likes a complainer or a squeaky wheel. So if you take some time to generate a solution or present the problem in a manner that reflects your desire to improve the system, it will more likely be received positively. Think of problems not as weaknesses, but as areas for improvement. Pearl number 4 is slightly more colloquial and is mostly relevant to our personal lives outside of medicine. And that is, don't have serious conversations when you're tired or upset. This career will demand a lot of you. There will be sleepless nights and moments when you are too exhausted to think straight. These times will also ask the most of your loved ones, many of whom are in this room right now. If you find yourself faced with a serious or important discussion at a time when you are mentally or physically depleted, save it for the morning or after you've rested. When we are tired, emotions can run high, and we may say things that we don't mean. Give it the energy and the focus that it deserves by tabling it for when you are fresh. Pearl number 5 is a lesson that I was taught by one of my dermatology mentors right here in Boca Raton, Dr. Michael Sherling. Dr. Sherling was key in helping me match into my top program for residency, and he taught me this. There will be times when someone opens a door for you, but it's up to you to do the rest. When someone goes out of their way to help you or to create or find an opportunity for you, they're sticking their neck out for you, and it's up to you to represent yourself and them well. Our mentors can change the course of our careers and set us up for success. When there's a good opportunity, take it and run with it, and do yourself the honor of not making anyone ever regret helping you. Pearl number 6 is from my mom, who is a pediatrician. This is a piece of more practical advice, and it may seem somewhat traditional, but it's important. This is something that she always reminded me of when I was a medical student right here at FAU. Iron your clothes, especially your white coat. As physicians, when we walk into a patient's room, there is an unspoken understanding that within minutes of meeting you, this person is expected to trust you with their health and potentially with their life. Take a moment right now to imagine yourself as the patient, meeting a doctor who appears disheveled versus meeting a doctor presenting him or herself in a way that appears professional and put together. Who would you feel more comfortable with? Our presentation is a way to non-verbally communicate that we care and that we take our job seriously. It shows that we have pride in the white coat that we wear and respect for the patients that we are taking care of. There's also an unexpected advantage to this habit. It has an inverse effect. This small discipline of taking the time to prepare and present yourself professionally infuses into your life in other ways. Sometimes taking 5 extra minutes to do something and do it right can make all the difference and can set the tone for your entire day. Pearl number 7 is to remain coachable. This may be the most valuable quality a medical student or a trainee can have. Feedback can be really difficult to hear, even when it's delivered effectively and respectfully. And the most difficult feedback of all is the feedback that we need to hear the most. The caveat here is that feedback can also be delivered really poorly, so if someone is just plain insulting your character, you can ignore that. I'm talking about constructive feedback that we know is true about ourselves, but we may have a hard time facing. Maybe because we're too ashamed to admit it, maybe because we don't want to have to confront that piece of ourselves. We've all had these instances, and we all know that it's not the warmest feeling. Being able to take a step back and remind ourselves that this feedback, although it can feel like a poison dart, is actually magical because it's the raw, honest truth. If we are able to harness that without allowing the enemies of feedback, which are things like defensiveness or shame, overcome us, we can better ourselves, which ultimately helps us in learning, in patient care, in our interpersonal relationships, and in our entire lives. When you get that sinking feeling after receiving a constructive piece of feedback, remember to remain coachable and create a space for yourself to improve and grow from it. The secondary dividend here is that if you are perceived as someone who is coachable and someone who can take feedback and implement it for the better, your teachers and your mentors will be more willing to give you feedback, which for you is unlocking more levels and more opportunities to improve. Pearl number 8 is something that I learned from my dear friend and mentor, Dr. Jennifer Tan. You have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. Dr. Tan works primarily in healthcare for the homeless and is the most kind, compassionate dermatologist I know, and also happens to be the most in shape. She firmly believes in making self-care, whatever that may look like for someone, a priority. Medicine can be an extremely fulfilling career, but can also drain you in every possible way. Remember the phrase that you have to put on your oxygen mask before you can help the person next to you. Remember this when you start to feel out of balance. Go back to the things that make you feel most like yourself and that fill up your cup, whether that is exercise, spirituality, reading, getting outdoors, spending time with people that you love, going to therapy, or even just taking a nap. I once heard a talk when someone discussed the concept of how work-life balance is actually unrealistic. And instead of it being this perfect 50-50, it's really more like 80-20 or 60-40 sometimes. But the point here is that you don't need to feel perfectly balanced all the time. The pendulum will swing. It's about recognizing when you are really off and being able to bring yourself back to your center. Taking care of yourself also means your mental health. We are in an era where, fortunately, we're seeing a cultural shift towards recognizing the extreme importance of mental health. We saw this with Simone Biles bravely taking some time off at the Olympic Games for her mental health, and Naomi Osaka on the cover of Time magazine with the quote that it's okay to not be okay. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength to call on the people and the resources around you when you need them. Pearl number 9 is to embrace the uncertainty. This is something that my husband, who is also a newly minted attending physician and is much more laid back than I am, is constantly reminding me of. There will be many moments along this journey where you find yourself in what I call the in-between. You've all experienced this in awaiting for your medical school acceptances, and you will experience this in awaiting exam results or awaiting your results on match day to find out where you'll spend your years of training. For type A personalities, which many of us in this room are, this can be quite arduous. The best thing one can do in these times is to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Find appreciation for these hard moments because they are opportunities to reflect. When you have worked as hard as you can and the stakes are high, you must proceed as if success is inevitable and embrace the uncertainty. I hope that of these 9 pearls, maybe even 1 or 2 will stick with you throughout your training and will guide you in challenging moments like they did for me. Finally, I will leave you with 3 pieces of my own advice. These are principles that I go back to when I feel overwhelmed or lost in a situation. 1 is integrity. My favorite definition is by the writer C.S. Lewis, and that is, integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching. To me, this means that only you will know sometimes what you did or how you did it. Whether it's in front of others or behind closed doors, do things to the best of your ability, keep your word, and do the right thing even if it is disadvantageous to you at the time. Only you can be that moral compass for yourself, and how we do anything is how we do everything. 2 is knowing your strengths. Each and every one of you is very different, yet you're all in the same class, working towards the same goal of becoming an MD. I challenge you to identify and channel your own individual strengths. Odds are, whether you realize it or not, these are some of the traits that have gotten you this far in life. Ask yourself, what am I really best at? Our hobbies can be an interesting window into our strengths. Some of you may be really good at video games and have strong hand-eye coordination and visual spatial skills. Some of you may love music, which for you maybe goes hand in hand with creativity and memory and focus. Some of you, the crazy ones, may enjoy running marathons and have incredible self-discipline in both physical and mental endurance. One of my co-residents in Boston was skilled at computer coding and used this in analyzing a big skin cancer data set, something that I know absolutely nothing about, yet we were co-residents in the same program, succeeding in parallel in our own ways. Identifying your own unique strengths, honestly, not to be like the person next to you, can be extremely helpful in carrying us through our journey and guiding us with decisions. Doing this can be helpful in choosing your medical specialty as well. We just moved into a new house last month, and my husband would tell you that based on my ability to visualize furniture fitting into a room, I would not have made a talented robotic surgeon. Know your own strengths and use them to your advantage. You are each uniquely talented and brilliant in your own ways. 3 is about gratitude. This is something that I've learned and has been reinforced to me in my work with disability advocacy and homeless health care, and of course in caring for sick patients. Every single one of us has what we consider to be our set of problems. Some may be really big and catastrophic, and some may be trivial. This changes between days or months or years, but if we remind ourselves on any given day that there is someone, maybe it's the person taking your order at Starbucks, maybe it's your patient, maybe it's even one of your own classmates in this room who is fighting a battle that you have no idea about, but someone would take your problems in a heartbeat and call them blessings. It also applies to our own situation in our past. There was a time that each of you and I wished for the exact seat that you're sitting in now. You are all incredibly bright in countless ways, and you've worked exceptionally hard to get to this point. If we can cultivate and maintain a mindset of gratitude and perspective, I truly believe we can live happier and more fulfilled lives. Lastly, I just want to congratulate you all for this enormous accomplishment of receiving your first white coat. It is truly an honor and a privilege to do what we do as physicians. There is no other field like it. Always remember that on the other side of the blue surgical drapes, or on the other end of your stethoscope, there is a human being. Sometimes you'll be performing surgery or making a rare, life-changing diagnosis. And sometimes you'll just be helping a patient put their socks back on after a physical exam, which I do a lot of in dermatology, and is equally as important. When you wear your white coat, wear it with pride for all that you've accomplished, for how hard that you've worked to get here, and wear it with compassion, humanism, and respect for the patients who will receive your care. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nassim, for your moving remarks, and you make us so proud. I was just sitting there telling Dr. Gunderson how incredibly and emotionally proud I am, and I think all of the faculty and staff who remember you when you were a student here. You represent our College of Medicine exceptionally, so thank you. And I'm sure you have also inspired the class of 2024. Class of 2024, this has been an extraordinary year for sure. You were not scared away by the uncertainties of the pandemic. Instead, you embraced the challenge and successfully navigated a remote learning curriculum with modified clinical skills sessions while still building friendships and supporting one another, whether close or far. We are incredibly proud of you. Last year, you received a Humanism in Medicine lapel pin. These lapel pins were generously donated by the Arnold P. Gold Foundation. The Foundation's mission is to perpetuate the tradition of the caring doctor by emphasizing the importance of the relationship between the practitioner and the patient. Their objective is to help physicians in training become doctors who combine the high-tech skills of cutting-edge medicine with the high-touch skills of effective communication, empathy, and compassion. You are following in the footsteps of many selfless physicians and many others who have served humanity in countless ways. We are now ready to officially cloak you with the white coat you were given upon matriculation. Your coat is no longer brand new, as you have already become a more seasoned medical student over the past year. And we'd like to recognize today the grace in which you began your journey by celebrating this moment, cloaking you with your white coat, and finally, in person, officially welcoming you to the FAU Schmidt College of Medicine and the FAU community. Families, friends, and guests, these students are represented by two societies, the Dr. Charles Drew Society, led by Dr. Elizabeth Gunderson, the Assistant Dean for Student Affairs, and the Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell Society, led by me. Several years ago, our medical students named these societies after these two pioneering physicians who represent an ideal in medicine and service to humanity. We will have a representative from each society share with you why our students selected these two doctors. Before we proceed, I would like to invite the following individuals to join me on the stage: Dr. Sarah Wood, Interim Dean, and Dr. Elizabeth Gunderson, Assistant Dean for Student Affairs. We will begin with the members of the Dr. Charles Drew Society. I would now like to invite Year 2 student Peyton Yerke Hansen to join me at the podium. Peyton will provide a brief overview of Dr. Drew and why our students selected him to represent one of our two societies.
Good afternoon. My name is Peyton Yerke, and I am a member of the Charles Drew Society here at FAU's Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine. Dr. Charles Drew was a pioneer in the medical field. As an African American, Dr. Drew overcame numerous roadblocks, setting a working example for the progress that could be made not only in the medical field, but throughout society. Dr. Drew earned his medical degree at the McGill School of Medicine. After graduating, Dr. Drew joined the faculty at Howard University College of Medicine, eventually becoming the chief surgical resident at Freedom's Hospital. While working further towards a doctorate in medical science at Columbia University and being the first African American to receive such an honor there, Dr. Drew fell under the wings of prominent physicians Edward Lee Howes and Alan Whipple. Dr. Drew established his place in research of treating shock, fluid balance, blood chemistry and preservation, and transfusion. With this, he was able to open an experimental blood bank at the New York Presbyterian, founded on the ability of blood to be processed, preserved, and transported for longer periods of time. In September of 1940, Dr. Drew was called to direct the Blood for Britain project to assist Great Britain in World War II. He collected donations of blood from almost 15,000 people, saving thousands of lives in both the military and the military personnel and civilians. Dr. Drew unified the procedures and standards for collecting and processing blood plasma. While performing this amazing feat, Dr. Drew also became the first African American appointed as the examiner for the American Board of Surgery. With the end of Blood for Britain in January of 1941, Dr. Drew was appointed assistant director of a pilot for a national blood banking system, ultimately leading to the creation of the American Red Cross Blood Bank. Following the war, Dr. Drew sought to raise the standards for Black medical education and to embrace Black physicians in the medical sphere. He devoted himself to training and mentoring medical students and surgical residents upon his return to Howard University and Freedman's Hospital as chair of the Department of Surgery and chief of surgery. As Dr. Charles Drew once said, "So much of our energy is spent in overcoming the constricting environment in which we live that little energy is left for creating new ideas or things. It should be the aim of every student in science to knock down at least 1 or 2 bricks of this wall by virtue of his own accomplishment." I hope that as new members of the Charles Drew Society, you will continue his legacy as diligent and compassionate doctors, especially in the face of opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Peyton. Students, these coats symbolize your entry into the medical profession and your commitment to uphold the highest ethical and professional standards. This white coat is a uniform of the healer, and you will slip your arms into its sleeves and tug its fabric over your shoulders. As you wait for your name to be called, you may wonder how you look in your white coat as you walk across one of the world's great stages. The sleeves may be too long, the shoulders too broad, but there is a more important question to ponder. How will you measure up when you put on this coat every day after this one? Let's get started. As your name is called, please come onto the stage on your right and then exit the stage to your left. Audience, please hold your applause until the robing is complete, and for safety reasons, please keep the aisles clear while the students are processing. Thank you. Rama Abdin. Sarvika Bamakanti. Lauren Breen. Thomas Cassatt. Sarah Jane Cole. Simmer Suk Dylan. Joshua Drower. Aviv Elimelech. Karen Fishman. John Gao. Yosra Gate. Sim Hamid. Lillian Hassanein. Brandon Knopp. Sohini Titir Lahiri. Samantha Matat. Jesse Maher. Alicia Mary Myers. Feikemi Ogunfua. William James Paliseri. Jerry Chi. Karan Rajalingam. Katrina Ramsamuj. Melissa Rodriguez Sulaman. Brian Saffer. Stephanie Salguero. Ariel Sangvi. Quan Ta. Nika Vafadari. Celine Vartani. Peyton Yerke Hansen. Alexander J. Young. Congratulations, members of the Dr. Charles Drew Society. Dr. Gunderson will now exchange places with me as we get ready to cloak the members of the Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell Society.
Good afternoon. It is truly an honor to be here today and to be a part of this very special ceremony. At this time, I'd like to invite Sean Griffin to join me at the podium so that he can provide a brief overview of why our students were inspired to select Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell to represent one of our two societies.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean Griffin, and I am a member of the Elizabeth Blackwell Society. As students at the Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine, Blackwell is a name you're going to be hearing regularly, so it's important to understand who she actually was. As Dr. Blackwell was first beginning her medical career, there were many who doubted her abilities. During her time in school, she managed to not just earn the respect of her peers and professors, but also inspire those around her to hold themselves to a higher standard. She graduated at the top of her class in 1849 and became the first woman to earn a medical degree from an American medical school. After graduating, Dr. Blackwell moved to Europe to gain practical experience studying midwifery in London and Paris before returning to the US. 2 years later, she opened an infirmary for women and children, which she later expanded to also serve as a nurses' training facility with the help of her younger sister, Dr. Emily Blackwell. In 1869, Dr. Blackwell returned to London to help establish and then teach at the London School of Medicine for Women, where she spent the rest of her medical career. This further accentuates her legacy of not only being the first female doctor in the US and Britain, but also making sure that many more would be able to follow in her footsteps. It is for this reason that one of our two academic societies was named the Elizabeth Blackwell Society. Much like our society's namesake, our college believes that not gender, but traits such as professionalism, leadership, and compassion are what determine whether or not someone will be a good doctor, and that a career in medicine should be something that everyone should have an equal opportunity to pursue. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Let us now continue with our white coat ceremony with the cloaking of the members of the Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell Society. Students, as your names are called, please come onto the stage on your right and then exit the stage to your left. Audience, please hold your applause until the robing is complete, and for safety reasons, please keep the aisles clear while the students are processing. Thank you. Brian Blair. Kara Bushimi. Samantha Caballero. Maral Daria. AJ Desai. Hania Diaz Ajon. Megan Drury. Amy Du. Nicholas Ehat. Kisho Fukuoka. Ganesh Giri. Sean A. Griffin. Veronica Hagan. Talia Hammer. Keegan Held. Daniel Jacobs. Delina Lafita. Jordan Lee. Hannah Levine. Brandon Maknofsky. Ashley McGrath. Daniel Padron. Sunil Raju. Nikita Rao. Neil Shah. Ryan Stalder. Orly Golnaz Terme. Niyati Upadhyay. Agosa Urogide. Kaylin Wilkes. Rebecca Zhang. Please join me in a big round of applause to officially welcome the Schmidt College of Medicine Class of 2024 to the medical community and Florida Atlantic University. Students, in case you're not seeing it, you're getting a standing ovation. Thank you, Dr. Wood. You may now return to your seat, please. Dr. Caceres, please join me at the podium for the Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine oath. Last year, during orientation, our students worked collectively to create their own oath, a code of conduct that they are committed to following throughout their education and as physicians after completion of medical school. At this time, our students will recite their oath in unison, led by representatives chosen by the class for this important part of the ceremony. AJ Desai, Hania Diaz, Aviv Elimelech, Sean Griffin, Sohini Lahiri, Brandon Maknofsky, Melissa Rodriguez Suleiman, Kwanta. Please join me at the podium for the Class of 2024 oath. Only the students will recite their oath. However, I call your attention to the screens behind me. Students, please rise and recite your oath to your family, friends, faculty, and college community.
As the students of the Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine Class of 2024, we pledge to be respectful, inclusive, and culturally sensitive towards our peers and patients.
Embody anti-racism while actively combating healthcare disparities. Value the opportunity to learn medicine and recognize the privilege of serving patients.
Demonstrate high emotional intelligence to create a safe and inclusive environment that fosters open communication and trust.
Exemplify professionalism, integrity, and respect for boundaries. Commit ourselves to continually expanding our medical and cultural knowledge to benefit our patients.
Collaborate with and empower our peers to create a non-competitive learning atmosphere. Recognize our own limitations and be willing to embrace help from others.
Provide attentive care to patients and lead with empathy. Prioritize our own health and well-being so we may provide the highest standard of care.
Hold ourselves and our peers accountable to the highest ethical standards. Advocate for patients and serve as leaders in the greater community.
Provide competent, humanistic, and compassionate care while prioritizing patient autonomy and confidentiality. By embodying these tenets, we will commit ourselves to a life that will bring honor to our profession and, above all, do no harm.
That was wonderful. Thank you. You may be seated.
As we near the conclusion of this ceremony, I'd like to again congratulate the class of 2024, your families and friends who are here today to share this special occasion with you. Once again, thank you to the Palm Beach County Medical Society for generously donating new stethoscopes last year to each member of the class of 2024. We are most grateful for the continued support from Dick and Barbara Schmidt and the Schmidt Family Foundation for their vision of a biomedical science program and a medical school at Florida Atlantic University, and to all of you for your continued support of our students and college. We would also like to say a special thank you again to the College of Medicine's Advisory Board Chairman, Dr. Michael Dennis. Dr. Dennis has supported the creation and growth of the college from the beginning. Without his vision and support, we would not be here today. Thank you, Dr. Dennis. We are now ready to conclude our ceremony. Class of 2024, you have received your first doctor's white coat, and you have now been placed in the service of humankind. You will work hard. You may even struggle at times. But the privilege you have been given to serve your community heavily outweighs the sacrifices you may make. Medicine is, after all, a labor of love. It is a calling and not a job. Who you are and who you become as a physician is just as, if not more important than what you know. As you continue on this journey, keep the patient at the center, and remember that that's what it's all about. Care for your patients, care for your loved ones, care for your community. and remember to care for yourself. Future colleagues, you have chosen a noble profession, and we are very proud of you. We wish you every success in your education, training, and your life as a physician. On behalf of the Schmidt College of Medicine and Florida Atlantic University, we thank all of our distinguished guests here today, and especially our students and their families and friends for attending this very special event and bearing witness as our students continue on with their journey of becoming physicians. Audience, I ask you to please remain seated until our faculty and all the students have exited the auditorium. Thank you all for joining us today.